right, budget items to discuss tonight: the review of the tax cap, revenue budget, employee benefits. Some of these are fixed items. Employee benefits we have some control over, mostly not. Debt service is one of those fixed costs. Special education, and the BOCES budget. Tax cap. Let me start out by saying the tax cap, as you can see by the last 3 years of tax caps, is not a number. It is a calculation. It is made up of 8 pieces, and we only have really influence on 2 of those pieces. So this is a calculation based on just normal functioning data as it relates to the district. The current tax cap for 14-15 is 2.6, it actually should say 2.66% is our tax cap. Last year it was 3.87. Of course, our first year was negative 1.5. It does change. There are districts that are as high as 9 and districts as low as negative 3. So there is a lot of variety associated with it. But again, it is not a number, it's a calculation. This is a slide I've presented multiple times. I just think it sums up the state aid story for South Seneca, that our foundation aid, which is the blue line, is not even back to where it was almost 5 years ago now. However, the accumulated GEA, we all know that by heart now, is almost $6 million. That's what we're doing without as we budget going forward. Getting down to some of the details. Revenue budget, looking over the last 3 years, we're looking at a 14-15 revenue budget using the governor's proposal, using a tax levy of 2%. At this point is 1.51%. A goal has been to be less reliant on fund balance going forward so that we can, in a word or in a term, live within our means. Employee benefits. This consists of retirement for our support staff and our teachers, Social Security, workers' compensation, unemployment insurance, and health and dental insurance for our staff. The plans themselves and the benefits themselves are pretty much set in stone, and all we do is basically respond to the cost increases that are associated with them. I want to point out that the state retirement did not go down. It certainly appears that looking at the budget, but one of the goals of mine as we go through is to absorb some of that contingency that we talked about, some of the fund balance, if you will, within the budget itself, because we're going to be using that for the next couple of years, and then we're going to be looking at fund balance. This is part of the longevity plan. So state retirement has gone down, but only because we're using fund balance. The actual percentage, I take that back. It actually did go down. It was 20.9, went to 20.1. Not a huge difference, but considering the leaps and bounds, that's an improvement. Teachers' retirement system went up. Social Security is stable, but it's based on salaries, and salaries have gone up. Workmen's compensation has gone up. Unemployment has gone down. As you know, we've made substantial cuts 2 years ago. We've been fortunate that we were able to either absorb some of those staff or they were able to get jobs elsewhere. So that's why that has decreased. Health insurance has gone up 7%. Dental insurance has been stable. Overall benefits have gone up 5.4%. Debt service, we have no control over this other than to basically pay our bonds in a timely manner. As time goes on and payments and principal is paid, debts do go down, interest does go down. Just a reminder, so does the aid that's associated with it. So building aid goes down as debt payments go down. But in the budget, that went down 1.03%. Special education. This is the second year in a row. Our Director of Special Services, Sue Lynch, who is here to answer questions if you have any, was able to tweak her budget. The last year was because she was able to have an in-house program for students, and that was able to save the district money. And this year, we have seen a decline in some students and services that were provided to students. Certainly the caveat in the minus 5% on this budget is this budget and department specifically responds to student needs. So if we get more students and those students have need, those services would increase. I'll remind you of the year that we had 13 new students with special needs come to the district. That can happen. That was unusual. Hopefully that won't happen again, but it can. So we want to budget accordingly. But Sue and I both felt that we could tweak this budget a little bit going forward. Any questions for Sue before I go on?
She'll be doing a presentation after yours on her budget.
No?
Well, I actually provided in your backup, you'll
Right.
see it on board docs, the slides that Sue prepared.
Right.
They give you a lot of the detail about the student population, projections for next year. And so, you know, it doesn't even have to be tonight. You know, we can ask, just as you absorb some of that, let us know what your questions are and we'll get them answered.
But the only question I had was there was a reduction, I believe, in the middle school, high school
A reduction in aides?
staff.
Yes.
And, is that due to lower population, or
That
is
is
that a?
due to students who will be graduating,
Okay,
who have one-to-one aides.
okay.
So there will be a reduction of, so there'll be a reduction of 2 aides at the elementary because of student needs. Then kids have either moved out or no longer need the one-to-one support. And then we have 2 students graduating from the high school who had one-to-one aides, so we no longer need those. So it'll be a total savings of 4 aides K-12.
The only reason I was asking is I wanted to make sure that the cuts weren't going to affect programming, so it sounds like.
No. No. And we're looking at next year, we're looking at the district vertically K-12, looking at the staffing that we have and how we can better help the middle school, because they were pretty substantially hit with the loss of one special ed teacher. But it's looking like we'll be able to move people a little bit to make sure that we take a little bit of the pressure off the middle school for next year.
Thank you.
Okay, BOCES budget. This has actually been a fairly fluid budget. We just finalized service requests for services that we've asked BOCES to provide for us. We just finished that, so this is actually old at this point. It has increased from the 14-15 budget that I have here, but it is still a 2.2% reduction from the prior year. Again, just a reminder, except for special education and why it's so important that Sue is able to work the numbers and the programming the way she does, except for special education, all these items are aided through the state. And at this point, it's 59.4% of every dollar we spend, we get back in aid the following year. So any services that we're currently doing in-house or through other vendors that we can bring through BOCES can be a benefit to the district. So we still utilize them, even though it has declined slightly. We still utilize BOCES as much as possible. I'll have that updated BOCES numbers on the next budget. So evolution of the budget, 21,933,255 is the current 13-14 budget that we're operating under now. We started out with a rollover budget, which was a 30.15 increase. As we've been looking at departments, as we've been looking for places to tweak, cut, possibly move things around, we've been able to reduce. And fund balance and contingency is still an area that we're going to be looking at. 2.94% includes the athletics, the health insurance at that time, and the technology department. And now with the special ed, debt service, and benefits that I've just shown you, we have gone down to 2.2%. The goal is to get to 1.51. That was the increase for revenue. So our goal is to get to, obviously, have our expenditures equal our revenues. So we're heading in the right direction. Next board meeting, we hope to have the legislative response. We have had an on-time budget the last 3 years, which is fortunate. It's easier for us to plan accordingly. I haven't really heard a lot. I don't know if you have regarding where the legislature is going to go. It's been actually eerily quiet on what they're going to be doing. So I haven't heard anything. I hope by March 12th we'll hear more. Building budgets, John and Adam have been working diligently on their budgets and looking for areas that they can cut. Facilities and maintenance departments, transportation, and we'll have final staffing information as well. Just a reminder, the hearing will be in Ovid in the Miller Auditorium on May 13th, and the vote this year will be held in Interlaken from 1 to 8 on May 20th.
Any questions? Thank you. Okay, move on now to superintendent reports. Steve?
It's going to be short and sweet tonight. I just have a few little reminders and a couple of reactions to some of the stuff that Naomi had. Naomi, could you put that impact of GEA slide up that I did? I think it's in the item on the budget presentation. Go to the budget presentation.
On the PowerPoint?
Nope, right on the agenda.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yep. And then underneath yours.
Oh, there we go.
So I just created this as a, it's that PDF there.
Yep.
I just created this as another different little way to look at, you know, some of the same information that Naomi has presented before. These blue bars here is that familiar shape you've been seeing in that slide that Naomi thing, where our aid has dipped down and has not yet recovered to the level that it was in 08-09. What I did with this is I put the GEA numbers on top of each year, so you could look and see what our aid would have been without the GEA. And so that situation certainly would not have been the case that our aid would have been going down all those years without this gap elimination adjustment. Of course, expenses never go down. And so what I tried to do up here is just show that our expenses over those years did what expenses tend to do, which is steadily climb a little bit. So you can just imagine that every time we lost money to the GEA, the gap between our revenues and our expenses just got that much bigger. So it's just one other way to look at that and maybe visualize it a little bit, and why it's, you know, incredibly important that this thing stop. It's getting to the end of the legislative session now. I think that the whole state has done a pretty good job of getting it on the minds of the legislators. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen. You know, personally, I feel like it's going to be hard for them to come back empty-handed on the GEA, but I have no idea. I'm kind of a novice at this, so I really don't know. Because it's coming down to the end, I think that anything that you can do to let people know, let the legislators know that you're very interested to see how this turns out is well worth the time, the letter, the phone call. You know, we recently had a few local town hall type meetings, and I know that everybody, each one of those legislators heard from us each one of those times. It's definitely on their minds. One of the things I worry about is that they get distracted by the other stuff. You know, I personally prefer that they stop talking about the Common Core so much because, you know, honestly, I don't think they understand it very well. And, you know, so instead of thinking about what they can do to be heroes with the Common Core, how about if they can be heroes with the aid, the inequities in aid. So just one more big push. Just a reminder on that debt service slide that Naomi had. She mentioned it that, you know, and we talked about this a lot during the merger process, that the debt service comes with associated state aid. So when you see that our debt service number is roughly $4 million, just remember that there's 3-point-something million aid that comes along with that otherwise would not. So this is one of the aha moments for me as I have been learning so much about the budget, is that, you know, our budget's $21 million, and you know, that 4 million of debt service is sort of on top of like 17 million-ish for each year. So it's built into the budget. It's voted on by the taxpayers, and so just it's good to kind of understand that and have a picture of the fact that the aid comes in with the debt service as well. A little bit of an unfortunate headline in the community newspapers this past week. I have the Interlaken Review from February 19th. The headline says, schools set tax increase at 2.6%. Obviously, that's not what happened. Naomi reported that our tax cap number is 2.6%. And the reporter who was in the audience that night, I think, misunderstood exactly what that message was. She's new to this. I forgive her. So I called the newspaper. We talked a little bit, and I think they're going to try to print some kind of retraction or something. It's not a terrible mistake, but people see that headline and think that somehow you've already set the tax increase, and so then it becomes work to undo that message a little bit.
I think the other message that gets sent with us sometimes is that and Naomi and I had this discussion today, is this whole 2% tax cap thing.
Yeah.
And so they see 2.6% and right away their mind is thinking, oh, they're going over the tax cap again. And so it's really important that we do our best to try to educate this new reporter and help her understand the differences and stuff. So when anybody gets attacked on this here, just let them know we're not done yet. Okay.
We will too, I believe it. It's kind of a puzzle, Steve, because your charts over the last couple months really explain things well, but never once will you see a chart like that in mass media.
You're right. Yeah.
It just doesn't go out to the public.
Yeah, people get confused by those headlines, and I think it's confusion by design. The politicians are looking to score points, so the governor loves to say that they're increasing state aid by however many percent he wants to say that it is. He's got all these great ideas about UPK and technology in the schools, and it all sounds great in statewide headlines, but it's very, very empty stuff. The actual delivery of those things is very unsolid. There's so many things that would have to happen and for it to come to fruition. Those things almost never do happen, and so he gets to score points in January and February in the headlines for stuff that never actually comes to fruition, or ends up costing districts more than they ever wanted to spend on those things. A lot of the pushback he's gotten lately on the UPK stuff is, how about K-12? Let's fix K-12 without bringing in UPK, because honestly everybody loves pre-K, and there's nothing bad to say about it. But when it comes with a price tag, you weigh it up against other things. But you're absolutely right.
Just give us back the GEA and we can take care of our own pre-K.
Exactly. That's why I don't want them to get distracted by the Common Core. I feel exactly the same way. Fix the aid stuff. We'll do just fine with our curriculum thing. We know how to teach our kids. Anyway, it's an exciting time at South Seneca. The reason we're sitting here in this room right now on this day is because the basketball team's on a roll. So hooray for the girls, and looking forward to Saturday and maybe move another step down the road. There's nothing like something like a sectional run that brings the community together and makes us feel good. And again, the message about pride of program is that we have a lot of great stuff going on in South Seneca, despite the challenges of the group. I've had some pretty good feedback on the Facebook page. I try hard to make sure that it stays pretty current. I bother the very first time somebody wrote a comment that said, hey, is school going to be closed tomorrow? And I was able to, quickly make a response and say, hard to say, it's the wind chill temperatures look like they're, it's more probable that it would be a delay, but we wait until the morning until we see what the actual conditions are. And I think that's great, that there's a way to do that kind of communication that everybody can see. So it really hasn't drained my time or anything, but so I kind of enjoy it, and it seems like people are having positive reaction to the whole thing. All right, I said short and sweet. That's it.
Administrative reports. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for that because it's very informative of what we received. My question is will they be available for people to see community-wise? Or is it something that we would like to think about? Because there's a lot of good information there, I think, really, to be honest with you. For us, I mean, it's good for us to get that. But
I guess my only reaction to it is, Mike, if we're going to make it available for the public, then the principals should know that as they're writing them, because right now they write them for the board.
correct.
And so the content might be a little bit different if they, actually in the case of these particular reports, they probably be exactly the same. But I always encourage the principals to be, forthright and honest and blunt with the board about not only the great stuff but also the challenges. And I think that if they knew they were writing for the public audience, it might be a little bit different than if they're writing straight for the board. So it's certainly something we could do.
Well, I think I'd like to see something, in a sense, from you both for the public to hear what's happening within the schools. And so if we can look at it in a sense that we do have as we do here, a board copy, but something that we could turn into a public copy to let community see what's happening within each one of our buildings.
Is there a newsletter? There is a newsletter.
I was actually just going to mention that. I've been, one of the Facebook things I've done is to remind people of the updated newsletters that happen each week for elementary and middle,
Right.
but haven't happened for the high school.
Right.
And so, this might be a good way of kind of folding in and creating, a high school newsletter that would come out a little bit more frequently than it does.
Yeah, and I think, go ahead.
And perhaps the elementary and middle school newsletter could be in the public content form,
Yeah, yeah,
rather than making one different and new piece of paper.
sure.
Rather than reinventing the wheel, here's what we have.
Yeah.
I think the newsletters, I mean, the middle school one I read today, there's a lot of information on there. It's good stuff in the elementary. But I guess I'm looking for your perspectives. You know what I'm saying? As the building leaders of what you see. So, I mean, I don't want you to reinvent the wheel. I don't want you to do extra work. But I think it would be good for that kind of perspective, maybe monthly
Yeah.
somehow.
And as Steve said, I think the current version of the high school, middle school is good to go to post as a PDF link on the website.
Right.
In the future, we could possibly address concerns in a separate document so that what we're producing for you, there'd be, part one is for you and the public, and part two would be just for the meeting.
Right, and I think you could do that on that document, put that document in our portion of the minutes, but then remove the concern stuff,
Personal.
put it into the public side of it. Any other questions, concerns, administrative reports? We'll move on to board member reports. Dave Dresser and I, don't ask me the date because I can't remember now. I think it was February 19th.
You're right. That was the day.
Met with the Lions Club, our local Lions Club. We've been trying to set a meeting up and get to them And as some of the goals when we decided to move forward as a standalone district was to get to different community groups and talk to them about our school. And they were very, very receptive. We were fed dinner and treated pretty nicely there during the dinner, and then met with the group afterwards. I asked Dave, as you know, Dave is well versed on what's happening in the state with the GEA and all the financial stuff. And so he prepared a handout for them and spoke on that. And then I just spoke about the direction that the district's going and all the positive things that are happening. And they were very, very pleased with that. And we also want to partner again with them, as we did in the past, in some kind of fashion way of doing that. And we did get some questions like they want to do a auction and would like maybe the district to be part of that. And I connected that one person with Gertrude Schaefer, and because Gertrude does a lot of community outreach, and maybe that can happen that way. And then there was a mentoring program, and I don't know if I know, Steve, you know more about that.
Yeah, we worked with the 9th graders that year to do what we called natural mentoring, which is instead of trying to match an adult up with a kid, sort of like forced mentoring. Natural mentoring is when you have adults and kids working on the same project at the same time. And the project that we picked was to do some community history. And so we arranged a series of interviews with community members that had become successful after coming through the school system. And the 9th graders and I traveled to various locations in the community to interview people. We videotaped the interviews. We put it together in a little bit of a multimedia thing. And it was a nice, 6-7 month project, and gave the freshmen that year the opportunity to hear from community members they might not otherwise have heard. And that was a partnership with the Lions Club that we did that.
And so with that thought, they are interested in getting back into that kind of partnership with us. So, it's a good thing, and it's exciting to see that. Mr. Ray Fox was there. He's a Lions member. And the first thing he hit me up with as he walked in was, who do I talk to about getting our Lego robotics program involved that he's doing over in Romulus into our district? So if you don't hear from him, John, find his number and give him a call.
We have an answer for you.
So that's all I have, I think. Yeah. Yep. Anybody else? Anything? Board member report? Pretty quiet month, I think.
I forgot to mention that there's another BOCES event coming up that we're going to have Bill Daggett in Ithaca on March 13th. You'll see some advertising for that coming up pretty soon. He'll talk about the why of education reform. If you've ever heard him speak before, he's very good about 21st century demands of schools, and sort of does a good job of framing the discussion around what schools need to do to ensure that kids are successful after they graduate, both in the workforce and in colleges. So that event's going to be Thursday night, March 13th in Ithaca. And the promotional materials are already out there. It's got all of the BOCES component district logos on it, and so we'll start to see some I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot, Hunter. Did you want to say anything about anything, being the representative on the board for tonight?
What do you want from us, Hunter, really?
She's thinking the whole time about how she gets even with Mr. Steele.
We're really glad you're here, and I know it's hard for you to maybe speak in this section, where you are right now, but please feel free and pass that on to the colleagues in your group that we want to hear from you, but also take back what you can that you hear here to that group and share it with them. So
If I can interject,
Yeah.
I mean, Hunter, one thing you can take away from this is how difficult it is to manage a district under the financial constraints and all the mandates from state ed. And it's the other people seated at the table around you, these are volunteers that put in an enormous amount of hours to manage the district. And it's quite a commitment, and it's a pretty tough job. And they do that all on your behalf.
Not just yours.
AJ's too.
Couple people.
Hunter, the other thing is, if we talk frequently, at a level that if you haven't been to a meeting before, you really don't know what we're talking about. So if you have questions, Craig is right there.
I'll be happy to answer
Do ask questions. Who are you? Anyway, what I'm saying is, though, is, for example, when Naomi was going over the budget and you saw the 2.2% and then it decreased, right? So sometimes it gets confusing on how those percentages are calculated. So that's a time when it's perfectly okay for you to say, excuse me, I don't really, why did that change? You know what I mean? So don't hesitate to ask questions, because we really, really like to share the information. Right, David?
Yes, we do.
Maybe somebody would want to explain to Hunter in layman's terms what the capitalization adjustment is really all about and the impact it's had, since she's been in kindergarten.
Yeah, I like to talk about the gap.
I got your slide back.
And anybody else that's out there, this is your opportunity. If you haven't had the opportunity to hear before what it was, we're using Hunter to help you.
So in the simplest possible terms, people in New York State pay taxes. Not just school taxes, but all kinds of taxes. And we send our money to Albany. Albany's the capital of New York State. And New York State makes promises about what they're going to do with our money. So they fix the roads, and they do a lot of other things that they do with our money. And one of the things that they do is they fund the public school system. And they have a little formula that they use about how much money each school gets. And so one of the things that we've learned is that their formula is broken. And it doesn't really work. But it's still their formula, and they figure out how much money they're going to send us each year. And roughly, we get $10 or $11 million a year from New York State in state aid to run our schools. And about 4 or 5 years ago, the governor felt like they didn't have enough money in their budget to balance the budget. Balance the budget means how much money they spend has to match how much money they have. And they felt like they were spending more than they had. So what are you going to do? What are we going to do? So what they decided to do, one of the things they decided to do, was instead of sending $10 or $11 million to South Seneca, they just kept $1 million of it. And they called that the gap elimination adjustment. The way Rick Timms says is somebody had a gap, they need to eliminate it, so they made an adjustment. And so for the last, those years right there, roughly we've had $1 million withheld from our tax money, supposed to come back to Seneca County, and they just kept it in Albany to use it for their budget. And so then somehow over the last 4 or 5 years, it's the school district's fault that they don't know how to manage their money. And so schools look bad, Albany looks good. Meanwhile, they're holding $1 million of our money every year, and it's wrong. And so we've been fighting it, and every year they've been shrinking the amount that they take away, but they act like they're doing us this big favor by shrinking it a little bit. So like last year it was $800,000 that they took away. This year, the plan in the governor's budget is to take away $720,000, and that's supposed to be a favor to us. We got an increase in state aid by $100,000. It's not an increase at all. They're still holding $750 million of our dollars. And so lots of people are now starting to get tired of it. And, you know, one of the easiest ways to see what the effect is that last board meeting, we talked about how there are 41 positions at South Seneca, teaching positions, aides, and assistants, that we don't have anymore. So people lost their jobs because of this. And, you know, we've had a lot of meetings over the last 4 or 5 years where we sat across the table and told people, good people that were doing good work in our buildings, that they had no job anymore. And that's scary stuff. And it's been a lot of tears over the last 4 or 5 years. And much of it is due directly to this idea that they just didn't send our money back to us. So,
Steve, you did a good job explaining that. Just like to add that as you look at 2014-15, and there's still an elimination adjustment, there's a surplus of $2 billion in the state.
yeah.
They don't need it all. They could send it right back to where it needed to go.
So
There should be a public outcry.
when Rick Tim says there's a gap and they need to eliminate it, he says there isn't a gap anymore.
That's right.
So why are they still holding on to our money?
So Hunter, what I'd like you to do is to bring back to your group on Monday, maybe a little bit about that. And maybe you could begin maybe a petition paper from our group to our legislators. And I think that will speak volumes compared to only the board and the superintendents all the time writing to our legislators. So, okay.
Move on to board committee reports. The Building and Grounds Committee met tonight with our architectural firm. Just to explain, we had bids for our capital outlay project, and unfortunately, when you talk about a smaller bid at these times, you don't usually get favorable bids because of the size of the project compared to things that are being bid that are a lot larger. So our bids were over the amount that we could accept, but we did accept the electrical bid for replacing the lights in the gym. So that's moving forward, and that work will be done over the April break. There is some opportunities for some of that work to get done, maybe through different opportunities through that electrical contractor. And what we're doing with the balance of the work is pushing it into the next capital outlay project and go out to bid again for that. So that's where we are with that. We also did talk to them about moving forward with, the state requires every school district to do a building condition survey every 5 years. And in 2015, ours is up due again. And so we're going to move forward with getting that building condition survey done so that we know that we're doing the right thing to keep our buildings in the right shape to move forward here in the future. So anything else, Craig? I don't think there's anything else we talked about.
No, I think you covered it.
We do need to reschedule a policy committee meeting. So I want to put some dates out there other than Wednesdays, right, for a little while yet. And then we can-
Although later on in this agenda, we've got the first readings of the policies that we've been working on for most of the year so far.
I was thinking about, David can tell me, like this thought is that we do have that big giant packet, and Steve's been going through that and sort of weighing out what ones he really needs to bring to the policy committee. And I was thinking about if we could get them ahead of time, and I'm not sure if we could get them ahead of time before that meeting, we could come to that meeting and make it a lot shorter.
90% of them are totally straightforward.
Okay.
And Shelley's making copies of that.
Okay, so that's the approach we're taking. I don't think there's any other committees that met. Now, we can move on to new business. Need a motion to appoint Leah Woodard to the position of .5 FTE daycare worker. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to accept the resignation of Eileen Letson for the position of clerk, effective March 31st.
So moved, Craig.
Second, Kathy?
Discussion.
Hey, Sue, could you just say a word or two about the great job that Eileen has done? She really has done a great job.
I was just, this is a tremendous loss to the district and to the special ed office. She is phenomenal in her job. She is a creature of detail, and she will be greatly missed.
And she's sweet, she's a wonderful personality.
Yeah, so it's sort of a sad day for us because she's very, very good and knowledgeable at what she does. And it's a job that they will be hard shoes to fill, that is for sure.
Is there possibilities through BOCES for something short-term to get through the rest of the year, that kind of thing? Or what is our game plan for the rest of this year?
I believe we just posted the position. We're hoping to get someone in and Eileen can train for 2 weeks. She'll just sort of scratch the surface in 2 weeks. So the timing of it's difficult because this is when we do all of our annual reviews, and toward the end of the year, from this time till June, it's
Not just anyone can step in and do this kind of work.
Well, that's my thought, because
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we maybe could contact BOCES and see if there's
You
anything.
mean like an itinerant or shared type of?
Something like that, just somebody that has the knowledge, so we're not stuck for the next few months.
Yeah, unfortunately, BOCES doesn't offer that kind of service, but maybe
Yeah, but
talking
I
with
have
other districts
a
possibly.
meeting tomorrow with all the chairs from the district, and if anyone has a part-time person that might be willing to work with us to the end of the year, I'll certainly put that out there. Because you're right, it's not a job that you can just roll into. So great idea, we'll check with it tomorrow.
If no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to appoint Stephen Frost to the position of teaching assistant effective February 22nd.
Moved it.
Second, Kathy?
Discussion?
Just very quickly, one of the people that was let go over the years of cutting was Steve Frost, and he's really excited to be back, and we're excited to have him back. So, we lined it up so that his first day would be today, thinking that he would have been appointed last night, but we started him today anyway, and I just walked by a few times. I see kids giving him a high five in there, and so this is a happy one.
No further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to approve the budget transfers as listed.
So moved, Roger.
Second, Craig.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to approve the 2014 surplus items as listed.
Moved it.
Second, Kathy?
Discussion? From what I hear, Lance has been real busy.
Real busy.
So on these items here, just for knowledge, at that point, how does this work, just for knowledge again?
Once the board determines it's surplus, then he will set up with an auction house. They will come out, they take pictures, put it on a website. It really is very little effort on our part,
Yeah.
and it was very successful 2 years ago when we did it. So it's a great way for us to be able to use move even damaged material. Many people use it for parts, equipment parts, so it's been very successful for us.
No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to accept the electrical bid from NAP Electric, the amount of $43,775.
So moved, Roger.
Second, Kathy.
Discussion? Just to educate a little bit on this, this is to do some replacement of the lights in the gym. And we had a long discussion with our architectural firm concerning the performance of the lights that are there now and the disappointment in the district. This will not cost the taxpayers anything because the architectural firm is going to pick up the 20% difference that would have been tax burden to the community. On top of that, they are doing some electrical engineering work for us at no charge to find out if we can use the lights that we're going to take down in the elementary gym and enhance the gym lights in the elementary school. So this can turn out to be a pretty good positive thing. I think everybody will be very pleased with the lights that will be in the new gym and the difference that you'll see in that. So I just wanted to make sure that that was out there, that this is not something that we're burdening the taxpayers, and we're trying to do the best we can to make sort of a negative situation into a better positive one. So if no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to reject all bids for the general trades work for the capital outlay project.
So moved, Kathy.
Second, Dave. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to accept the revised policy 7410, extracurricular activities for the first reading.
Move Dave.
Second, Kathy.
Discussion?
So this is going to change the way we approach eligibility. If it's approved, rather than just ask kids to show up at a homework help session to satisfy eligibility, we'd like to see them working on some kind of specific corrective action plan in order to remedy whatever's going wrong in the classes. The burden on the student is not to necessarily change the failing grades into passing grades, although that's the ultimate goal. The burden on the student to maintain eligibility is simply to be working on it. And so a student who's willing to cooperate with just pointing themselves in the right direction in a course that they're struggling with will remain eligible in all of the extracurriculars. We've also done some work to remedy the situation that we became aware of this year when, because as a result of a lot of the reductions, that we have upperclassmen who can't find enough courses to take to maintain the minimum eligibility requirements, and so we made a move here to match what the state threshold is. We're actually still a little bit above the state threshold, so we're asking for students to be enrolled in a minimum of 4 units of study plus physical education in order to maintain eligibility, and that's just a little bit above what the state sets as a minimum. And the next item on the agenda just covers almost the same language in a different policy, so we're just changing 2 policies.
And most of the changes are just the highlighted area that we read.
That's right.
Will the second reading almost be the exact same reading as you see it?
Unless I get feedback otherwise,
Oh, right,
it should be
right.
changed.
Yeah, that's what this open discussion is. If you see something in there that you might not agree with, we talk about it now, then we come back with the second reading if there was any changes.
If not, then it'll come through as a policy to be passed.
Who checks on the work for like the homework clinic when they set?
So we'll still run the homework clinic, we'll still have somebody on top of that. This is sort of envisioned as a collaborative effort between teacher, student, family, administration, and the people that are running those things. So hopefully it's a big team effort.
Any further discussion?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to accept the revised policy 7420, sports and athletic program for the first reading.
So moved, Kathy.
Second, Craig.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to nominate John Nyhill, South Seneca District, to serve as the Tompkins Seneca Tioga Board of Cooperative Educational Services for a term of 3 years, commencing July 1st through the June 30th of the 17th.
So moved, Craig.
I'll second it.
Discussion?
I thought he was retired.
He probably will not finish this term, but he is willing to begin the term and give our board another year if we'd like, to replace him.
And so what I'd like from this is that, there are many opportunities out there of community members, past board members, that could fill that position for John after that 1 year. So between now and then, if you have any ideas, bring them our way, or have some discussions with some people that you think might want to step in that position. And it could even be a board member, a present board member. I'm not thinking of anybody, too close to me at the time, but it can be a board member that's serving on our board, can serve on this board too. So, but John has been doing a fantastic job for us, and has represented our district there greatly, and so he will be missed after next year. So let's just keep that in mind. No other further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public to be heard on non-agenda items. Anyone from the public to be heard? Vernon, you had your hand up before.
Sorry. Sorry I'm late, but I didn't get the memo.
Oh, sorry.
7:30.
That's okay.
Anyways, my name's Bernie Hoff. I went to the girls' game last night, and they did great. And I was on the spectator bus. And I got to tell you that we had 15 to 18 students on the bus, and you got to be proud of them. They were polite. They conducted themselves very well on the way to the game, during the game, and on the way home. What I would like to see is a way to get a whole bus of those students. And just to promote South Seneca itself. Steve always talks about the community and play it back. And I know for some students it was $4 for the ticket, it was $6 for the bus. And I know we have to pay for the bus. My thing is, can we come up with a way so we can get the students? And I know it's only 2 days. My way is the easiest way. I'm proposing that whatever bus costs, you tell me, I'll pay it. Because I think our students in our community and our players deserve it. And it's a way for the students, we can play it back to them. They can see that adults do whatever they can to help them. And we should carry this over into doing something to promote the students to be able to go to all the sporting events, but musical, the plays. We should be able to try and help to get the students there. And if the money's the problem, we'll take care of it. But I think the students and our community deserve it. So for right now, that's my idea. You let me know, Naomi, what the bus costs, and we'll cover it.
What is that cost? Do we have an idea?
I'll say $1.
I would imagine it's pretty high.
It's about 400.
It's
Did you know that, Bernie?
mileage and a drive.
400?
Okay, I'm not rich, but I just think
But listen,
we deserve it.
We have a response. So
Yeah,
Thank you for your comment.
we've had a very similar conversation today. We know that the price for Saturday's game is a little bit more than the price was for Wednesday's game. This topic has come up as early as this morning, and we're talking about either greatly reducing the price for the chaperone, for the spectator bus, or eliminating it altogether. So I don't think we're going to have to send a bill to you, Bernie, but we all agree. As a matter of fact, Lance, we had a short conversation about hoping that we could send more than one bus on Saturday if we can generate the interest. I guess the best way to answer your to respond is we're on it, and we feel exactly the same way. And none of us wants to burden students with having to pay more money to come out and support the team.
So what would it take to get to the latter of the two decisions?
We're in active discussions, and I don't know, John, you were talking to Lance about it today, and we've got some ideas, but I don't think as of right now I can say.
So are you going to post on the Facebook site that a spectator bus is available so that we can get the information out to the community?
That part's done. That they're on the Facebook right now is that the spectator bus is leaving at 1 o'clock on Saturday. I didn't even mention a price for it, so I just said there's a sign up in the office.
But I think
For students, and is it open for community members
Everybody.
as well?
Everybody.
Yeah.
And so is there a contact link?
I just said the main office, so the main office, but either of the secretaries.
but I think the one thing that
Put it out on the board too.
Oh, and it's out on the board.
Okay, great.
the one thing that I think we have to keep in mind is that there is, in the back of people's minds, there is a cost, because there was a cost for the last one. So I think we should make that decision real soon to put that there's no cost for the bus.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
I wasn't ready to go there yet, just until I hear more from Lance, but, look for something more definitive tomorrow.
I'm pushing for no charge.
You say no charge, there's no charge.
Board?
No charge.
Agreed. We'll figure it out.
Spectator bus is free.
Thank you. Mayor?
One question, one thing I saw in the news the other day is that Governor Cuomo has put before the Congress, and I think they've already passed on it, that veterans will not have to pay school tax if the board, local board, votes that they will not have to pay school tax. And I wondered if that had come before this board, if there's been a decision made on that or not.
There has, and it did come before our board, and we decided to delay it for.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
One of the things people didn't quite understand about that
Is that I'd have to pay their tax.
Yeah, that whatever benefit the veteran gets picked up by the rest of the taxpayers
That's
in
right.
the district.
Yeah.
And there were some requirements for public hearings, and they needed a decision by this board meeting, and so
Wasn't enough time for
we
us to
felt
react.
like the best course of action is to learn more about it and talk more about it next week.
Thank you very much. I'm in favor of veterans, but I'm not in favor of paying the taxes.
Anyone else?
I don't know if this is really appropriate, but I'm just trying to understand. So there's a problem with the lights in the gym here. So you'll put possibly lights if they fix it to the elementary gym.
Yeah, the lights that are in the gym now create quite a, if you've been in there at times, quite a lot of shadows.
Yeah.
And the architectural firm realized that, they did not design the correct light. But if you think about capital projects, this one started at least 5 years ago on the design part of it. And so back then, that light might have been a light that would be okay. But then as things move on, there's many upgrades to things. And there's been some lights that come out that will provide better lighting in the gym. And we have been pressuring them through the facilities, our building and grounds committee have been pressuring them to provide us with something that would be better. And we also felt that it was a little bit of their responsibility. And so that's what they were able to do. Take them down, put them on eBay, sell them, or can they be used in our building in the elementary school? So we're looking at those options right now.
So I guess my comment is if they're potentially going to be doing some wiring or something over there, the sound system is terrible. Maybe Adam will be able to project his voice better when we have a concert or something. And there's two great big huge speakers up there. When we go in there for an elementary concert and somebody gets up in front of 300-400 parents, you can't hear anything. I don't know, if they're already doing some wiring, is there something that could be done about that?
You're talking the elementary gym sound system?
Right.
I don't think there is anything now, but I can tell you that the next capital outlay project is for the elementary school.
Okay.
We've been doing $100,000 projects. We started the bus garage then here, the next one is there. So it's something that we can look at as the Building and Grounds Committee of what can be done. But we can also look into maybe a game plan before that.
It's just terrible. You can't hear what's
Maybe
going
we,
on.
we can get a standalone system or something that can be plugged in there that might work.
Or we can use the auditorium. Is there
Well, it's
auditorium?
not big enough.
It's not big enough.
It's usually when you have a bigger event, a
Elementary
concert, things like that.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll put it on our agenda for the Building and Grounds Committee to look into.
Put Adam on it.
Yeah.
These kids can talk really low.
Project, yeah, we need to project.
I think I can handle that.
Anyone else from the public? If not, I need a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of discussions of particular personnel related to particular people.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you and have a nice evening. Stay warm. You did it, Hunter. Yeah.
Good job.
I'm busy, find better. I was visiting coach next week.
Kathy,
That whole thing?
Kathy, you are enjoying the board meetings way too much. We're trying